It's time for a wellness revolution. Brought to you by Hotze Health and Wellness Center. Honest discussion on maintaining health and wellness naturally to enjoy a better quality of life.
He's the doctor fighting to let you keep your doctor.
Now, Dr. Stephen Hotze.
Welcome to Dr. Hotze's Wellness Revolution. This is Stacey Banfield here with Dr. Stephen Hotze, founder of the Hotze Health and Wellness Center. And remember to go to our website to download all of our podcasts, HotzePodcast.com. That's HOTZE podcast.com. We have got an amazing show today. This is a topic that I think people are just starting to hear about. It's exciting stuff, so you'll want to tune in. It is all about peptides.
One of the latest developments in health and wellness medicine and anti-aging medicine is the use of peptides to stimulate improved health in a number of different areas. I'm Dr. Steve Hotze, and I believe that you need a coach. You need a doctor and a staff of professionals to coach you on a path of health and wellness naturally, so that as you mature, you enjoy a better quality of life without having to use a bunch of pharmaceutical drugs. That's why I'm so excited about peptides and their benefit of using these substances to help promote longevity and long-term good health. I have as my guest today my associate, Dr. Donald Ellsworth. And Dr. Ellsworth has become, over the last year to 2 years, very interested in the use of peptides. And I wanted to give him an opportunity to explain to you what peptides are and how they can be used in the treatment of a host of various medical conditions. Don, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you, Dr. Hotze. I am very excited about peptides because this gives us more tools to help people achieve their goals. For example, peptides can help you lose weight, lose body fat specifically, gain muscle. A lot of folks are frustrated as they go through life that, my muscle strength is just not what it used to be. You often sleep better. Your moods improve. You'll often find yourself having more romantic inclinations, perhaps better romantic functions. You could even find yourself healing faster than before. And very excitingly, there's some peptides that are very good at slowing at least the biologic processes involved in aging. And that's no small issue.
Well, explain to us exactly what peptides are. I know what they are, but try to break it down in as easy layman's terminology so they can understand.
Absolutely. Peptides are just small groups of amino acids, the building blocks of proteins. And these little groups of amino acids, and some are as small as just 4 or 5 amino acids, and sometimes they go up to as big as 29 or so. But what's interesting is these can do more than you would expect in terms of regulating cell function, because what they do is they attach to the cell surface, send a signal to the cell, and it's very fast, it's very targeted, and it achieves goals of optimizing function by telling the cells to go in the direction that they want to go. But because of age, typically, stress, toxins also add to the mix, we typically see a decline in function. So by adding these peptides, we can restore optimal function. And some of the peptides, for example, are related to growth hormones. Some of the hormones are related. Some of the peptides are related more to the sexual function, the pineal gland. Some are helping lengthen the telomeres so that the cells stay healthy and can divide in a normal fashion. And there's actually 7,000 naturally occurring peptides. So we're actually introducing 5 peptides right now.
What are those peptides that we're introducing?
We have Hormone Optimizer, which focuses on the growth hormone optimization. We have Hotze Repair, which helps repair the body, whether it's tendons, ligaments, gut, very importantly, leaky gut healing faster. Hotze Function, and we're talking about sexual function. This is a very powerful peptide in that area. We have Hotze Rejuvenation, which is actually very good at rejuvenating the body, helping the telomeres get longer. And we have Hotze Brain.
Tell them what the telomeres are.
Telomeres are basically the caps on chromosomes. If you think of your shoelace having that plastic cap, it's got this cap on it, and every time our cells divide, it gets a little bit shorter. And there's this concept in biology that after a certain number of divisions, the cells can't divide anymore. And one factor that seems to contribute to that very issue are the shortening of our telomeres. So basically, as our chromosomes become shorter, they're not as healthy, they're not able to reproduce. Our cells, when they can't reproduce, well, that leads to deterioration and ultimately death.
Aging. So by using specific peptides, we can lengthen the telomeres.
Exactly.
Which leads to longevity and rejuvenation.
Hotze rejuvenation has been shown to stimulate the telomeres. The specific enzyme involved is stimulated. And we actually have human studies where we've given folks who have these, who need this particular peptide, they will survive twice as long as those not receiving it. And that's, in medicine, that's not a statistic that you see readily. Usually,
right now, this is in animal models?
This is in humans. Human models. 79 humans, severe heart disease, given the same peptide that is in Hotze rejuvenation. There was a 50%, essentially 50% reduction in their rate of dying. And they age slower. Their cardiovascular system aged significantly slower than those who were not treated.
Well, these peptides are very, very powerful and add to our armamentarium. You know what we treat here at the Hotze Health and Wellness Center, we treat with a good healthy eating program. We promote ketogenic eating program. We also use replenishment of hormones, thyroid hormones, sex hormones, adrenal hormones. We also use vitamins and minerals for detoxification and also for stimulation of the power plants in your cells, the mitochondria, which also the hormones encourage that energy production. And then we recommend exercise. Of course, we do for those individuals that have allergies. We treat for airborne and food allergies. But now we have an added weapon in our armamentarium to help people get healthy and well naturally without using pharmaceutical drugs.
Exactly.
Now, I know we've been to several conferences where they've had the courses on the peptide treatment, which you've attended, and I know there's a Peptide Society, International Peptide Society now. What have you read about the pharmaceutical companies and the FDA? How do they take to this? If this is something that's natural, helping people get healthy and well, you got to believe that in some way they want to limit that. They always try to incorporate it into their own pharmaceutical products.
They are actually developing peptides of their own, and so it actually has been in some ways good that while there's been interest, there hasn't been as much activity because it actually makes things less available sometimes when the pharmaceutical companies get involved. But yes, they actually are very interested in this area, and there's actually a lot of trials going on right now in the peptide realm. One thing that a lot of people notice is that when they go through life, the muscle mass decreasing, and I mentioned growth hormone optimization, and one of the things that got me interested in peptides is recognizing that we could do everything right for people, but if their growth hormone status was not addressed, they would continue to have issues with weaker muscles, extra body fat, not just feeling themselves.
Osteoporosis, osteopenia.
We know that when you optimize growth hormone, muscle goes up, fat goes down, bone density goes up, brain function improves, sleep improves, mood improves, sexual function improves. Most people like that. So,
well, now, let's explain why we don't prescribe directly human growth hormone.
Exactly.
And I'll mention it. One time, several years back, I had attended and spoken at an anti-aging conference in Monaco, worldwide anti-aging conference. I spoke on thyroid hormones. But we learned there about human growth hormone. There was a Czechoslovakian professor who gave this long study. He was about 70 years old and goes, this is it. Growth hormone is key. I came back and announced on the radio that we're going to do growth hormone, and the next day the FDA walked into some compounding pharmacies and said, no, we're not doing any human growth hormones. And we're not allowing that in the States except in very specific instances in young kids that fail to grow. So it became very difficult and, in fact, dangerous because the FDA didn't approve of the use of this, and they were cracking down on it. And the reason is it made people feel better, for crying out loud, and they were getting healthy and well, and they were getting off pharmaceutical drugs. So I have to believe in some way the pharmaceutical companies did not like that. But the FDA stopped the compounding pharmacists from doing this. So we had no real way to stimulate or to give people human growth hormone. And the peptides now, And which peptide do we use for the human growth hormone stimulation?
Modified growth releasing factor and ipamorelin in a combination.
Right. So explain to them how we can draw blood to check on your level of human growth hormone, the measurements we do that, and then how we can follow that.
Well, you can pretty much count on somebody's growth hormone levels dropping with time. So if
by the time you're 20, it begins to drop. Remember,
Exactly.
human growth hormone, you think about it, when's the biggest growth people have? At puberty, right? So you're going to have high levels of human growth hormone, and then over time it gradually declines, just like thyroid hormone does, just like your sex hormones and adrenal hormones. You just go through a decline. So anyway.
Well, the Hotze hormone optimization product that we have basically will increase the amount of growth hormone being produced and released. And yes,
It's produced where?
in the pituitary gland, the anterior pituitary gland makes growth hormone.
In the brain. A little bitty gland in the brain produces the human growth hormone.
Exactly. And we can naturally make more. What's interesting is growth hormone is secreted in a pulsatile fashion. So you can't actually do a blood test directly for it because it's mainly made at night
Right.
in these little 90-minute pulses. You can check something called IGF-1 or IGF-BP3, and these things correlate with how much growth hormone you're actually making overall over a 24-hour period of time. But you're going to see it go down in almost all cases in an age-related fashion. And what's interesting is by adding these peptides, you'll actually make more and release more, and you don't need to do something artificial because your own brain is doing it. It has the normal feedback mechanisms. It's released in the pulsatile fashion, in that 90-minute fashion. And the more you emulate the way we were
Body
created
operates,
to be, the
sure.
better. It builds in the natural safety factors of we're just working naturally. So your levels will never be high. It'll just be optimized. And by doing that, you see all the benefits without the downside. And plus, it's very cost effective. There's no injections. It's under the tongue. It's very easy. It's just a bedtime. So easy, effective.
It's a sublingual tablet. Just dissolves under the tongue. That's how you take your. That's how we deliver. How we compound and deliver and prescribe our peptides is in sublingual. It's a sublingual tablet.
And that makes it a lot more accessible because previously, and they still are available as injections and sometimes nasal sprays, but the sublingual form, because it works so well, it makes it much easier to use, and people really enjoy that.
Well, this has been very informative on peptides, and I appreciate the sterling work you're doing on that. And I know that we've begun to use it with our staff and our guests now, and we're getting really some terrific results. So if you're interested in further improving your health, then I want to recommend that you give us a call here at the Hotze Health and Wellness Center, set up an appointment to see one of our providers, and we'll make sure that we get you up and going up on peptides and help you feel stronger, really feel stronger, have more energy, thin and trim, and have a good romantic moods and inclinations, strong bones, strong muscles, help you really get well so as you mature that you enjoy a better quality life. So thank you for joining us today on Dr. Hotze's Wellness Revolution. And thank you so much, Dr. Ellsworth.
Appreciate it.
Information provided on this radio program is neither intended nor implied to be a substitute for professional medical advice and is not intended to replace the services of a physician, nor does it constitute a doctor-patient relationship. You should not use information from this radio program to diagnose or treat a health problem or disease without consulting with a qualified healthcare provider. If you have or suspect you have an urgent medical problem, promptly contact a professional healthcare provider or call 911. Dr. Hotze's Wellness Revolution radio program advises you to always seek the advice of a physician or other qualified health provider prior to starting any new treatment or with any questions you may have regarding a medical condition. Any application of the recommendations from this radio program is at the listener's discretion.